So a lot of my fans have noticed that I have a very high, loud, cackling, crackling laugh. And somebody reached out to me and said, hey, can you do a Chucky laugh? Your laugh, it sounds exactly like Chucky. So I'm going to do it real quick, see if I can reenact it, because I know a lot of people say that I do it. So, I don't know. I'm good at, see, I put myself on the spot. I'm like, ah, shit. See? That was okay, right? Or, you gotta do it like the laugh where he goes, like, low to then loud. Yeah. I don't know where people see it, but if you see it, let me know in the comments below, right?
Hello, and welcome to the SaWGuy podcast.
Like scary movies? What's your favorite scary movie? Here's Johnny.
He'll tear your soul apart.
The boogeyman is real, and you found him.
Game over, man. Game over.
What do you want?
I want to hear you scream. Drop the prime time, bitch.
Hi, I'm SaWGuy, and I'll be your friend to the end. Heidi-ho! Ha ha ha! Oh, shit. I'm never good at impressions, but hey, I try, right? Anyways, welcome to the SaWGuy podcast. As always, I am the SaWGuy, and I am bringing you episode 24 on Child's Play. I know there's a lot of talk, and everybody's like, wait, you're doing Child's Play? Are you doing the whole franchise? Are you going to do the first one? And your answer is right on that one. I am only doing just the first one. And the reason being is because the first one's a true classic. After the first one, I think we can all agree that part 2, 3, and then later on they started to get a little bit more comedic. And we all know I'm not a fan of horror comedies. But, you know, maybe down the road I might do the whole franchise. But today, I want to let you guys know that this is going to be on the first one, on Child's Play, right? So, what makes Child's Play such a special film? First of all, if most people have seen the original, and if not, I'll break it down for you in a bit. But anyways, I know with Child's Play, it came out in 1988, and what's funny about it is that, you know, during the 80s, they had a lot of creepy doll movies. They just never blew up and got big. But for some reason, Chucky got big. It was to the point where, like, after part 2, then everyone started calling it, oh, those are the Chucky films. And it's like, well, no, it's Child's Play 3. Eventually, later on with the series, they dropped it all down. But anyways, I love the first one because the first one, they kept it more... I was going to say voodoo, but I'll get to that in a second. But they basically kept it more realistic scare. And I don't know, it follows that same parallel dynamicness of what Tom Holland does. And for those of you guys that don't know Tom Holland, not the actor from Spider-Man or whatever, Tom Holland, he's a director who did Fright Night, and he's done a bunch of other films. But I know my last episode, I did it on Fright Night, and so now I'm giving you another Tom Holland film. Ah, see the connection, right? But anyways, Tom Holland, he did this. He basically wrote the screenplay. He didn't write the whole story. The whole story was done by Don Mancini, who still writes all of them today. And Tom Holland, he wanted to make it kind of dark-ish, but he also wanted to have that more realistic tone. What I like about what Tom Holland did is that he followed the same principle with Child's Play as what he did with Fright Night. He basically had a male protagonist going after a male boy, and that male boy had a single mom because his father wasn't around. Well, you know, there's a little bit of different theories on Child's Play and why his father wasn't around, but I'll get to it in a second because for those of you that haven't seen Child's Play, I'll break it down real quick. You know, Child's Play, it's the first Chucky film, but it's not all comedic and humor, right? The movie starts out basically kind of like an action film. So you see this guy with the long hair, Brad Dourif, you know, he's actually the voice of Chucky and still has always been the voice of Chucky. He's running out of an alleyway, and they're in Chicago, and they're, you know, having a shootout, you know, him and the cops. The cops ends up being Chris Sarandon. Hey, remember that guy from Fright Night? Yep. And, you know, eventually he gets hit, and then he starts to run, and then his buddy in the getaway car is like, oh shit, takes off. His name's Eddie Capoodle. Eddie, don't leave me! And then after all that goes down, basically he's hiding out, and then Chris Sarandon tells him, okay, you need to give it up. You're basically done for, you know? And this is when Chucky, or Charles Lee Ray at the time, he basically shoots the door, goes in the toy store, and then Chris Sarandon finds him again, and then, you know, it's this whole stakeout thing. It's more of action-packed, which is pretty cool. And then eventually you see that Brad Dourif, you know, or Chucky, he falls over all these Chucky dolls, these good guy dolls, and it's a kid's toy, and basically he's kind of like at his last breath of air, and he's like, okay, well, I gotta do something. I gotta find a body. Gotta switch out on something. So he does this chant right on this doll, and it's this long-ass chant. And by the way, everybody, you know, I always thought it was French. I did my research. It's actually Haitian. Pretty crazy, right? But anyways, he does this chant. This lightning bolt comes. Chris Sarandon finds him, and Chris Sarandon's character, his name is Mike. He's a detective. And so Mike, he ends up finding them, and then he finds out that, like, the lightning came down and destroyed the whole toy store, and Chucky was dead. Flash forward, I should say, you have a story of a boy who lives with his mom, and they live in this apartment in Chicago. She's a single mom, and he's one of those good kids. You know, he looks like he's about 4 or 5, you know, kind of like pre-kindergarten age, and he's really intense into, you know, the good guy doll toys. And it's funny because if you've ever lived in the 80s, you know they made those toy commercials so fucking badass that I don't even know half the shit that they have unless you look it up on YouTube and you're like, oh, damn. You know, because it was the 80s. That you had to live it to understand it. And I'm going to say that all the time. But anyways, it shows he's all decked out in, like, Chucky's gear and everything. And, well, I shouldn't say Chucky. It's Good Guy doll. And, well, anyways, he makes his mom breakfast. Wakes up his mom and says, hey, you know, it's my birthday. She gives him his gifts. And we all know, we all know this because we don't like getting clothes for our gifts, you know, when we're kids and everything like that. And so she felt bad. She goes to work, and then when she goes to work, you know, she works at this department store. Her friend's like, hey, I know there's some, you know, she didn't say homeless guy. She said peddler. She goes, there's this peddler outside that's selling the doll that Andy wants. Andy's the name of the little boy. And, you know, so she's like, all right, screw it. She takes a break, goes and buys the doll from the peddler, and the peddler doesn't say anything. And where he got the doll at is just brand new doll, and she got it for $30, which back in the day in the 80s, $30 is like 60. That's a lot, but I mean, you know, I think they said in the movie that they retailed them for like $50-$60. But anyways, flash forward, she goes in, and the boss sees them and says, okay, well, you have to stay, you know, extra at work. Somebody called out sick, and don't do that again. You know, the whole thing but that, you know. So anyways, her best friend that she works with was going to watch her son Andy. And basically, I'm trying to remember. Oh, no. Before she does that, she goes and picks up Andy, gives him the doll, goes back to work, and then her best friend goes and watches Andy, right? And while she's at work, you know, she's doing her own thing. Her best friend's name was Maggie. She was watching Andy, and then, you know, Andy and Chucky, they kind of get close, and then they kind of wink at the fact that he's alive because, you know, he's talking to Andy, but you don't hear it, and then Andy's like, oh, Chucky wants to watch the news. Oh, whatever, kid, go brush your teeth, go get ready for bed. Then all of a sudden, Chucky's, like, she turns off the TV, they're brushing their teeth, and then all of a sudden the TV goes back on, and Chucky's sitting right there. I mean, creepy as fuck, right? So after all that happens, she basically gets him tucked in bed. She starts hearing things, and all of a sudden she's like, what the hell? And it builds up this whole suspense. And then she looks behind these pots and plants, and it's nothing. Turns around, whack! Right in the head with a hammer, falls right through the window, and it was one of those, like, 10-story, you know, apartments. Right? So that was the catalyst to what started it. And then later on, they try to figure out, okay, well, what happened to it? And then here you see Chris Sarandon, you know, he comes in and tries to investigate this case and says, okay, well, we got nothing. And then they start to suspect that Andy was the one doing it because, you know, they found the footprints of, like, the good guy's shoes with the markings and everything. And then Andy's trying to talk to his mom saying, well, I know who did it. It was Chucky. Chucky said that Maggie was a real bitch and she got what she deserved. You know, and it's like, what? You know, a kid would say that? Man, I know if I said that as a kid, we all, you know, I think my generation could agree. If we said that back in the 80s, we had our asses whooped. But anyways, you know, he tells her, like, everything that's going on, and she thinks, oh, it's just all the stress. Everyone's all, you know, not anxious, but everyone's all just kind of down about the fact that her best friend had just died. And so after that, she kicks out the cops and, tries to tell the cops, don't insinuate anything, da-da-da-da-da. And Chris Sarandon and his partner, well, I was going to say Chris Sarandon, Mike is his character. He says, okay, let's get this dusted off for prints. I found a hammer, and, go from there. Anyways, she starts tucking in Andy, and then, he's trying to talk to Chucky like he's alive, and then Chucky plays it off like, oh yeah, I like to be hugged. Then shoot to the next day, which is right the next scene. She drops him off at school, but see, this is what trips me out. She's a single mom and a parent, but she just like, okay, here, go to school, and then she turns around and leaves. Doesn't even wait until after everything's all settled and stuff. And as she's walking out, the camera goes right back to Andy, and then he ends up leaving school. And it shows that Chucky kind of guides him on a subway bus all the way to, like, the really bad areas of, like, Chicago, like the abandoned areas and condemned areas. And, he's like, hey, sit right here. I have to go tinkle. And as he puts Chucky down, and they're in the middle of nowhere, you see that Eddie Capoodle, the guy who left him behind, is, hiding out in this building, this abandoned building. Chucky knows this, and that's why he basically got Andy to go. So he runs out and messes with Eddie Capoodle, turns on the gas pilots, like super loud, and so Eddie Capoodle, he hears noises, boom, and blows up the whole house. Mike, he calls, God, I'm trying to remember, trying to remember the mom's name. I think it was Carol. Was it Carol? I don't know. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, because I know I've seen this movie so many times just to prepare myself, and I'm just like, fuck, I'm going to look so much like a rookie here. But we all know what we're talking about. Most of us had seen it. Well, anyways, she goes to the police station. The police tell her, hey, we found your boy at this scene. Something suspicious about it, so we're going to go ahead and keep him overnight for observation, because they think that Andy's crazy, that he's not all there, because he's trying to say that his doll's alive. So they give her back Chucky. She goes, back home, and then she's, like, kind of suspicious about things, and she's like, oh, whatever, Goes and gets a glass of water, and then all of a sudden she looks at the box, the batteries fall down, and this is my favorite scene. She goes and tells him, picks up the Chucky doll, or Good Guy doll, and says, if you don't talk to me, I'm going to throw you in the goddamn fire. And she already had lit the fire and everything, and then that's when Chucky comes alive. You stupid fucking bitch, I'll teach you. Like, I don't know, it was funny to me, because it's just, at the time in the 80s, they made it look realistic, and when you saw it on VHS quality, it was like, whoa, that's some scary shit. But now when you look at it, it's kind of funny, because you kind of know a little bit of the secrets behind the scenes and things. But they have a struggle. He bites her, runs out, gets away. She goes and tells Mike, the cop, like, hey, Chucky's alive, he's real. And then that's when she goes and seeks out the peddler. The peddler, he ends up being like a pervert, and she says, okay, well, can you tell me where it is? And then he's like, oh, no. I'll tell you if you. Then that's when Mike comes in and saves her, finds out where the doll came from, and then Mike finally admits to her, I lost my train of damn thought. Mike admits to her that, there's nothing there at that toy store, and she asks, well, how do you know? And then he basically tells her, I know because I was there, I was the man that killed Charles Lee Ray. And so she started kind of piecing the dots together. He takes her home, and she's done for the day already at home. He goes back to the station, pulls up the file, and as he pulls up the file, he's driving home, and then that's when Chucky comes out and tries to kill him. Tries to choke him, hold down the brake, the car flips, and then he tries to go after him, and then he gets shot. After that all happens, then you see Chucky goes and sees this voodoo priest. Now, this is what I love about the film, and getting back to what I was talking about, the voodoo. This film was scary as shit because it tied in voodoo shit, And later on in the series, they water it down. But what I love about this one, they got really, really in-depth on it, Like creepy shit, like transferring your soul into something else. And then he goes and sees the voodoo doctor, or the witch doctor. And basically, he tells him, hey, I'm alive, I'm a doll. Everything that you said, I thought was bullshit, but no, it's true, I'm alive. And then he's asking him, like, well, how do I get out of this body? Because, like, I didn't think I could get hurt, but then I got shot. It hurt so much, I even fucking bled. And then later on, he's like, oh, well, you did everything that I taught you for abomination and evil, and you have to be stopped. Walks away, and then that's when Chucky busts out the voodoo doll. And he's like, well, tell me. And he was basically like, oh, give me that back. And breaks his legs, breaks his arm, and then finally pulled out the knife. And then he was like, okay, you gonna tell me? Yeah, you have to transfer your soul to the first person that you told that you were alive. That's when Chucky laughed and said, oh, okay, it's a 6-year-old boy. He still ends up killing the guy, which is fucked up, but it meant for a brutal scene to get you hooked, like, oh shit, you know? And what's crazy is that when they filmed that scene, they did a lot of practical effects behind it, and a lot of it was hush-hush until about a few years ago. And what's cool about Tom Holland, he reaches out to the fans. He's great. He really is. I met him at a con one time. He kind of told me a little bit about the secrets, about how, you know, how they got the robotic animatron Chucky to move around. It wasn't. It was actually a real person inside, like, a bodysuit to look like Chucky, and they built everything around it, like, super big, which was cool. I was like, oh, shit, I didn't even think about that. That's interesting, you know? But anyways, after all that happens, Chucky's now going back to the mental institution to find Andy. Andy sees him coming. That's when he tells the doctor, hey, he's coming. He's coming. And that's when he hides out. Chucky gets the keys, opens the door, and Andy runs out. And the doctor's like, hey, stop him. And I thought what was pretty cool was the doctor, he's actually the news reporter from the original Hulk TV series. I didn't recognize him for the longest time. And then somebody was telling me that it was him. And I was like, no. And then I was like, oh, shit, that is him. I'm a fan of old TV shows, too, so. But anyways, Andy goes and runs and hides in this operating room. Chucky finds him. The doctor comes in, and he's like, no, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. This is just going to sting a little. And then Chucky comes behind him with a scalpel, cuts his Achilles. Ooh, man, that the way they did that effect was just like, oh, shit, you know. He falls down. You see these 2 little feet, and he puts on this electric shock thing on him. Well, like a headband for electric shock therapy, and turns it on full blast, and then you see him just like, and cooks the guy, basically. And so after that, you know, Andy starts to run home, and you don't find out that he goes home until, you know, after the whole incident's been reported. Then Mike and Carol, they go to the mental institution or the hospital, and they figure out that, you know, hey, Andy escaped, the doctor got cooked, and basically Chris Sarandon, or I always say Chris Sarandon, Mike, he's asking Carol, like, where would he go if he's in trouble? I always told him to go home. Does he have a way to get in? There's a key under the mat. So it shows that Andy finally gets home, and he closes the door, locks up everything. Another one of my favorite scenes in this film was Chucky. He plays, he played like a dead doll, like on the corner. There's 2 old couples, they come in, and basically this old lady, she tells her husband, oh, hey, George, somebody left the old doll over here. And her husband was like, oh, leave it. Some kid will come back looking for it. They walk out, and it was funny because she looks at it with this weird face. She's like, ugly doll. And then she closes the elevator, and it starts going up. Then hear Chucky, fuck you. Oh, shit. That was always my favorite scene. I laugh at it like crazy thinking about it. But anyways, Andy's in, and once he's already in, he thinks Chucky's going to come through the door. But this is smart. Chucky climbs in through the chimney, comes down, and Andy starts hearing noises, carries a bat, and then all of a sudden, another one of my favorite parts is where he scares him. Ah, surprise! Because that's supposed to be a jump scare. He swings and misses, then you see Chucky's hair like, oh, fucking crazy, that he's like... And he has to do the hair flip. I don't know why, just the hair flip. That shit was funny. Chases him. Eventually, he knocks him down, then he starts the voodoo chant prayer. And then that's when Carol and Mike, they get there. They break down the door, and they see Chucky there. And well, I want to say that he called her a bitch, or she picked him up, and then he started trying to bite her and everything. That's when Mike comes over there, picks him up, throws him down. He does the same thing that he did to the doctor, pull out a knife and got his leg and runs and hides. And then that's when they go into the room, and Mike, he's looking for him. And all of a sudden, Chucky comes out and hits him with a bat. Doo! Boom! Then Carol had Mike's gun, because he gave it to her. And then all of a sudden, she shoots him. He flies. And then after that, he goes after Carol and then jumps on her. They have a struggle. She throws him in the fire pit. She's holding the gate so he doesn't try to get out. And then basically, she turns on the gas, and Andy comes in and tries to light it. And then, no, Andy! We're friends to the end, right? This is the end, friend. Lights Chucky on fire. comes out. You think everything's done. Then she goes and checks on Mike. And she tells Andy, hey, go get a first aid kit. He goes and gets a first aid kit, and he sees that Chucky's gone. Then all of a sudden he starts to run. Chucky trips him, and he goes, hello, Andy. And he's all burnt like a crisp and shit. Kind of looks like me when I have a sunburn, you know. But anyways, he's still chasing him between different rooms. And then after that, she's trying to hold the door. He's getting the knife right through. What was stupid is that she was screaming as he was putting the knife through. And it was basically giving away her position. And I was thinking, oh man, he's going to get her. He's going to get her. But I think they did that. Tom Holland, I think, did that purposely because it wanted to build up, like, anticipation, get you hooked in the audience. Like, oh, what? You know? And eventually, they get out to the hallway. She shoots off his head, his arm, his leg. She starts shooting him. And she thinks that she's, you know, knocked him out or he's done. And then Chris Sarandon, his partner, comes in. His detective partner comes in, says, whoa, hold on, you know, because she points the gun at him, you know. And then after that, they go and they check on Mike. And after that, he calls ambulance, and then he's asking, okay, what happened? And then he says, the kid was right, you know, the doll's alive. If you go out there and see it, don't touch it. So what does the partner do? He goes out there, grabs the head, puts it on top of the TV, and says, oh, look, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead. And the big climatic, you know, ending to this film was basically that Chucky pops out of an air vent, tries choking him, and then they throw him to the side, and then, you know, I was going to say, I keep getting his name mixed up. Mike pulls out his gun, and then he's like, can I shoot him? And then she's like, yeah, through the heart, through the heart. Because basically the voodoo doctor had said, okay, he's becoming more human. The most human part of his body is the heart. You hit him in the heart, he's going to die. So they did this whole, you know, scene where he cocks back the gun, hits him, and then hits him in the heart, and then they do that scream, ah, and then they do the whole, hi, I'm Chucky, want to play, then it ends. They get up, and then as they walk out, Andy's the last one to leave, holding his mom's hand, looking out this way, and then the creepy music starts, the theme music. And that's the end of, well, that's the end. That's the whole movie of Child's Play, summed up for you. And what's great about Child's Play is it was fucking scary. It really is. If you compare the first Child's Play to all the other ones, that's going to be the most realistic one because it ties in a little bit of aspect of voodoo. It gets you enough to understand, like, oh, he moved his soul into a doll, but it doesn't give you enough aspect to know, to make you sound like you're a voodoo expert. You know what I mean? So it still has that creepy, mysterious feel with it. Then, well, I'm trying to think of it, because what's weird, and I'm going to say this again, is the voodoo chant. It's not French. Everyone always thought it was French. It's actually Haitian. Somebody came out and did it. But what I thought was crazy is that this first film, it did the whole chant, which was like 5 minutes long. Ah, Dewey, Bella. And that's all I remember from it, you know. Part 2 and all the way down, they basically like shortened it little by little. Now, what's the reason for it? I don't know. I tried looking that up, like, why the hell did they shorten that shit, you know? It got down to the point where it was, even in Bride of Chucky, they did it, where they just said, give me the power, I beg of you, and awake, you know? And it's like, okay, that didn't work in the first one, so why the hell are you doing it like that, you know? But it's interesting to note, you know, that they kind of broken that down. Also, too, there was a lot of different ideas they threw out about how to do the storyline, how to make Chucky come alive. What I thought was really cool, though, and I love this concept, and I wish, because I know there's rumors right now in 2018, they're going to remake this movie, whether they like it or not, and whether Brad Dourif comes back and does the voice of Chucky. But I love this concept, but they didn't go with it. This concept was basically, Andy wanted a good guy doll, but good guys, they like get hurt and they bleed, and basically you have to buy like special bandages and stuff like that, so you put it on them and they heal up, which is pretty cool. You know, I like that idea. And then the reason Chucky comes alive is basically because Andy's blood mixes in with Chucky's cut, and then all of a sudden he becomes an extension of Andy's anger, and he ends up being, you know, everything that Andy is like pissed off about and doesn't like, Chucky goes and acts on it, which is cool. But then it would have changed the whole concept of being a creepy doll movie into more of a psychological film, which I get the reason why. You know, it's, you know, you're basically comparing apples to oranges, but That's a great concept. I wish they could have done it. I mean, they could have done both, you know, in my opinion. But a lot of that, you know, like Tom Holland, he came out and was telling a little bit of behind the scenes, which is cool. Like I said, Tom Holland, he's a great guy. If you ever get the chance to see him or hear about him going to a con, check him out because he's real cool. He's a down-to-earth guy. You know, he'll let you in on everything, and he's very appreciative of the fans. He really is. But, you know, what's also pretty cool is the fact that Don Mancini, he wrote the first one, and then Tom Holland worked on the screenplay, which is basically like, you know, he works on the story, and then Tom Holland will, you know, create that and then make it like movie magic to it, right? Don Mancini, he still came back and did part 2, 3, 4, or Bride of Chucky, and then Seed of Chucky, and then the last two ones, what was it, Cult of Chucky and The Curse of Chucky. And, you know, it's, I wish they would have kept the Child's Play name, because Child's Play, that's a creepy name for a horror film like this, you know? It's supposed to be, you know, because back in the day in the 80s, you had a lot of, I would say it was a little bit more innocent than it is now. That's what I would say. But what's crazy about it is just like, you'd never expect like a story like this would come out. But as I said before, in the 80s, they had creepy doll movies. And you had one, obviously, like Puppet Master. Puppet Master was a creepy doll movie, but it didn't get notoriety because of the fact of, like, they did great with it. It's just, they didn't tie it in like this, and it wasn't like, I don't think Puppet Master was released in theaters, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, because I don't think Puppet Master was released in theaters, but this one was, and it was released actually by MGM. Universal didn't own it yet. MGM, they funded the film. They said, okay, make it. They saw it, and they were like, oh shit, no one's going to like this film. And it's kind of crazy that they actually thought that no one was going to like it. So they sold the rights, Universal. Universal, they bought it, and then that's when Universal was cranking out all the sequels to it. And then now they're cranking out, well, there's rumors for a while to do a TV show, but they would continue on everything from the movies. But now there's this whole talk right now, as of, you know, July of 2018, there's talk that they were going to do a remake. And everybody knows my feelings on remakes. I enjoy them because they're reinterpretation for the newer generation, as long as they do it right, you know? But if they do it, I hope they go with the original concepts with the stories, with, like, Andy's blood mixing in with Chucky's blood, and then he comes alive, because that's really cool. I mean, it works in any time frame, any era, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, you know? That's the best thing. It will work, you know? Also, too, what I liked about it was just the fact that, you know, there was a lot of little winks to things on it, like the name Charles Lee Ray. It was based off 3 serial killers, and they put it, like, their last name or their first name and things like that, like Lee Harvey Oswald, Charles Manson, and then James Earl Ray, which was pretty cool. Okay, it's a cool little wink. You know, other little tidbits that I kind of find funny was just I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but I did this research because originally I was thinking, okay, that doll's got to be somewhere. If they actually had to burn that prop and everything like that, they had to do something with it. And believe it or not, this is no bullshit on this. I actually did my research. The original Chucky doll, and Tom Holland has said this himself, that the original Chucky doll was turned around and recycled as the Crypt Keeper for the TV show Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Which is crazy because they still even kept the same blue eyes, and I didn't notice that, and I started looking at it and I was like, oh shit, that's true, you know? Pretty cool, right? And what I love about Chucky, well, it's not Chucky, it's Child's Play. Let's be, you know, let's call it what it is, right? It's Child's Play. It wasn't Chucky at the time. What I loved about it was just, it had that real aspect of it. It made it creepy. It made it kind of like Freddy Krueger in a way, where he was a serial killer that nobody would, like, listen to. And it was basically, same thing what I loved about Tom Holland is, he plays a lot off of the cry wolf kind of scenario. You know, like, look at Fright Night. Basically, you know, Charlie Brewster, he was a horror movie fan saying that he had a vampire living next door and nobody believed him. Same thing with this film. Andy was basically saying Chucky's alive. He was the one that did it and nobody believed him. It was the boy that cried wolf. And I love that concept. And he he's one of the best at what he does when he does his work on that, whether he's directing, writing the screenplays, things like that. But there was a lot of little interesting things with that, you know, and it just impressed me. And the whole aspect with the voodoo, man, that makes it creepy as fuck, because, like, you know, they never really talked about, like, voodoo, witch magic and shit like that in horror films. Not as often as they do now, but, you know, back in the day, it was just like, whoa, okay, it's got that creepy vibe that, you know, if somebody doesn't like you, they could put a hex on a doll and the doll will come chasing after you. Like that crazy shit. Wait, hold on. As you see me turn around like, oh shit. You know, I'm going to be watching this later on like, what the hell? That doll over there moved. No, I won't do that. Yeah. But anyways, it's pretty interesting how they did that. You know, it really is. And then the fact that it was so well done and so well put together that it became this big iconic thing. Because now, Chucky from Child's Play, he's a horror icon. He's not a legend. He's past the legend status. He's passed up to the icon. Because after part 1 came out, it was so big. You see, everybody had to have, like, you know, miniature versions or the realistic version of the actual Good Guy doll. They merchandised the hell out of it because it was that big. It really is. The fact that, you know, Chucky was even introduced in TV commercials. I mean, he's still, like, in little winks here and there in movies, you know. Which is pretty cool. I like that, you know. But the fact that it's just, the film was so done well, or done so well, that it spawned off all these sequels. And you have a total of 7 films right now. Not to mention you still have the TV series possibly coming. And not to mention you still have that remake coming. Which is like, what the fuck? So, if you guys ever get a chance to, for the ones that haven't seen it, go see it. It's all over. You can't miss it, because that's one of the best ones. I'll tell you that. It's one of the best ones. For those of you that have seen this film as many times as I have, if you ever get a chance to, and you want to sit back and watch it, pay attention to these little things that I'm telling you, because these little things, like, I didn't know it, and I basically watched this film like 5 times this whole week, and I was just like, oh, what the hell, you know, and I picked up little things. And then reading behind the scenes stuff was just like, whoa, okay, this is pretty cool, you know, they should have done this shit, you know. But anyways, thank you all for tuning in on this episode of the SaWGuy podcast. Hope you all enjoy this episode on Child's Play. And like I said, once I'm done and got everything all taken care of, I'm out, guys. You know how it goes, right?
Bow down to the